Alright, and welcome to Authorware7. We're going to build some basic interactivity. The first thing, let's orient ourselves here, and we have a flow line, and this is called an icon-based authoring tool. We have our icons here, so if we wish to display, we would drag a display icon. If we want to create an interaction, we use interaction. For motion, we would use a motion icon, and here's where we can do calculations, we can erase things, we can use map icons for many different purposes. The most common, which is as a container, so that you can show many different things. We have a weight icon, and then we have some media icons, so we can add sounds and video files and things like that. Then we have what's called the frameworks icon. So we're going to start out by dragging a display icon out here, and then the first thing we're going to check before we go any further is to check the file properties. And this is where we would decide on the background color, for example, or we can create a custom color right here, or we can choose one of these colors. Now I'm going to leave my background white, and here's where we would also choose the size of our CD-ROM. The CD-ROM display size in this case is 640, 480, but we can go to 800, 600, or full screen or anything in between. So let's do that. And we can even make it odd sizes by using the calculation icon and doing what's called a resize window. So we have that. So now the first thing that we're going to do is put some content in here, and I'm going to create, this is going to be my background. And my background graphics, I'm going to modify this icon's properties. And there we go, it's up. I'm going to open the icon up, and I'm going to draw some graphics just to make a background. And I'll choose my rectangle and choose a color. Let's do this. I'm going to draw a rectangle like that. And notice that my rectangle has some lines on it, which is called the stroke color. I can choose no lines right there. And I can choose this one, of course, is going to be opaque. It doesn't need any background transparency. And of course, the fill is a solid color. That would be non-solid, and that would only show the outline of my shape. So make sure you choose a fill of a solid color right there. That would be this color, whatever this chip is, and you can change that. All right. And our opaque is our mode, and the line we're going to take off. There we go. And let's create another one. And this one we'll create here. And let's change this color to something else. Not the peach, but let's go more for some rusty orange. If I don't like that, I'll go to custom color and I'll choose something else. Sort of a rusted orange looking color. There we go. And now I've got that. I can add some text to it. So we can add some text, and we'll put here title text. And I'll open that icon up. Now I can create text, and I'll use my text tool. And this one I'm going to put interactive. That's the word that I'm going to use. And what I'm going to do is modify the text. The text font is going to be something other than this horrible, whoops, highlight that. It's going to be something other than this horrible system font. And what I want to do is I want to make my text go up and down. So I'm going to push this right over and then use my text size option. Now notice that you can choose different sizes, or you can use your control up arrow and control down arrow to do it dynamically. So I'm going to hit my control and up arrow to make it bigger. Alright, and I might have to even give a space there just to give the illusion that the eye is on the next line, because the eye is so small. And then I would probably have to make this a little bit smaller, one size smaller, so that interactive fits there. There we go. Now I want to choose a mode of this as transparent, so the background is transparent. And I'll hit the restart button, and then I'll get my control panel down here so that I can pause it and move my text. Put it right there. And I think, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm also going to change this text color. Select this. I'll change that text color to something like that. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. Interactive. I want to write some more text. We'll call this CD-ROM text. And we'll open that one up. And let's use our text tool again. Put CD-ROM. And we'll do the same thing. Let's make it go vertical like that. And we'll move it around. And I'll just hit restart so I can see what it looks like. Now this text, we'll pause it. We'll move it up here. And we may want to change its color. Something like that. And it'll look something like that. Interactive CD-ROM. Not bad for a first start. Now I have a graphic that I prepared for this side right here. I'm going to insert that now, and this is going to be my background logo. And this is sort of a logo I made. I'll open this up, and we'll insert an image that we have on a file. So I'll have this icon open. I'll insert an image from a file that I have, and it can import that. And it is called my background logo. I'll import that. And notice that it has a black background, and that's not how I created this image. I created this as a PNG file with a background of transparent, and I made sure that the transparency was set in alpha in my photo tool. So now I'm going to select the mode of alpha, which will tap in to that transparency. Now you can see how that works. I can move this around, and we'll hit the restart button to see what the layout looks like. Now it looks like it's over this edge just a little bit, so I'll pause it, and we'll bring this over here. Now notice that the ordering of this is that my text, or my background logo, is on top of my CD-ROM text. Now instead of going and changing the layer properties of this, this is a simple fix. Just move the CD-ROM text this way, and that just means it'll come on after it. We'll see how that works. And that looks a little better. Alright? Because when you restart, you don't see that these come on 1, 2, 3, 4 because it happens so fast. So we can do something like that, and that'll work. Alright, the next thing to do is to introduce and create our interactivity. And that is to use this icon right here, our interaction icon. And this will be our menu, or actually our main menu. And what I'll do is we're going to use these map icons. This map icon, and the response type is going to be a button. Now if I had some pictures right here, I could use hotspot, and we could just spec out a spot that you could click on. But I'm going to use the button, and what I'm going to do before I continue is before I add some more buttons, I'm going to change this button. All right, this one's going to be about, and I'm going to change the button itself that way, and the font that way. Now when I do that, let's make sure, whoops, change the button that way. When I do that, now every button that I make afterwards will have those same properties. That way I don't have to go through and change the button each time. So now if you notice, there's that button right there. The next button that I create, this one, it's going to be called Images. Alright, and I hit restart. You'll see that it's the same style because I've already set that, and it just takes over the properties of the first one that you create. And then we'll create another one here, and we'll call this Contact. And I'm using this map icon so that I can go in the map icon. Alright? And once I go in there, now I can put many images or different things, different sounds and all of that in there. So that's why we're doing that. Let's spread these buttons out a little bit. Something like that. And what I'm going to do is use my Shift key to select multiple items, and then go up to my Modify on the main menu, and select Align. And this will allow me to align all of them centered up We'll also space them apart evenly. You can do that. So that's all set. Now let's start populating our responses, which this is response about, this is response images, and response contact. Let's start populating these with some content. So the first one, about, let's open that up, and let's put a display icon on here, and we'll call this about text. And I'll open that up, and I'll start putting some text in there. And white text is fine, except I'm not going to be able to see it on this background, so what I'll do is I'll change it to black for now while I type it. This CD-ROM was created in Authorware7. Please view my images that were created in true space 4.3, and then what we'll do is we're going to resize these. So let's highlight all this, and let's use our control down arrow, remember, shortcut, and we'll choose mode transparent. And now we'll put that text to white, and let's restart and test it out. About, there we go. Pause to move this around. We can even resize it if we need to. We could open it up and then resize something like that. Oh, but we want the 7 on its own, so let's go back to that. Let's increase that a little bit. Test it out. There we go. Now, if you really need to, if you think the background is too busy and you need to, you can always put a background or text box around that. And we can do that pretty easily. Now, the way I do it is this. In order to resize this properly, okay, what I would do is open up the text one and get that set the way you want it, and draw a text box around it. Alright, let's draw a text box. We'll make its mode opaque. And we'll draw a text box around that right there so that we see. And then what I can do is, now I know what size that needs to be, I can then take that text box and remove it. So open that up. Take the text box right there and cut it using my Control X, and I still have my text there even though it's white. Then open up my text box and paste it right in place, and it'll look something like this. And don't forget to take your text, your about text, and make it background transparent. And it'll look like this. And that way, if your background is too busy, then you can do things like that. And that's a great thing. Now we can reuse this text box. As a matter of fact, let's do the contact first. What I'm going to do is highlight both of these, and we're going to copy them. Then I'm going to select my contact and open it up and paste both of those on there. And we'll change this about text to contact text. The text box can stay the same. The contact text, however, we'll open that up and we'll edit it. Now let's change it to black real quick so we can see what we're doing. And we'll edit our text. For more information, contact me. Alright. And we'll put our contact information down here. That. And let's see. Okay. And we might have to move that a little bit. And don't forget to turn that back to white, or whatever whatever color you're using. Let's test it. There's our about, there's our contact. Not bad. If we need to, we can push pause and move it around. Okay, so restart, about, contact. No, we haven't done our images yet. Okay, so now let's go through and we'll put some images in here. And we'll open up this one. Now I have 3 images, so I'm going to open this up. And I could put all 3 images on here. Image 1, then I could do a pause, then I could erase image 1, show image 2, and I can plan all this out before working on them. And then erase, or wait, and then erase image 2, so on and so forth. But let's try something a little more complicated. And this is really the right way to do it anyways. And that is to use what's called the framework. Use this framework right here. If I use this framework will be our images framework. And this will allow us to go next, forward, previous, end, and all of that. Okay, so let's do that. And what we do here is we attach all of our images to the framework itself. Let's go ahead and attach, and this will be image 1, and we'll attach image 2, and we'll attach image 3. Now, the framework is very special. I'll put my pictures in here, so let's open this one up, and I'll insert my first picture, and I'll import it, and that's my Coke can cooler. And there we go. And I'm going to choose a really cool effect for this. I'm going to choose what's called erase. Now you don't see it show up here, but it will on my background. Okay. And for image 2, let's open this icon up, and let's insert an image that I have, and that's called the iTouch. And import. Now we can choose our mode right here also. Remember, it was erase. We could choose that right there as we import it. And then image 3, we're going to open this icon up and insert another image, our last one. And this one I'm going to leave. It's my interface one. I'm going to import it. Now this mode is actually going to be alpha because it's a PNG that I want to keep the transparency information for. And now I'm going to resize it. And this one, I'm going to try to maintain the aspect ratio. Put that right there. And this is how the framework works. Let's do this. Let's restart. Let's select images. And notice that now here, this is all of the things in the framework. It allows us to go next, previous. Notice that our buttons are disabled, so we have to exit the interaction to get back to our buttons again. Just so you know that. See, I can't click on these buttons. So what I'm going to show you how to do here is to modify this framework so that we can use only the options that we need. So we need to open this framework up. Let's open it. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that gray panel there. So we don't need that. And the only buttons I want are the previous button, the next button, and the exit button. So let's choose the go back and delete it. We don't need recent pages. We don't need find. Now we need this one, the exit framework. We don't need the first page, and we don't need the last page. And we might as well change the names of these. So let's call this main menu, and let's call this previous image, and let's call this one next image. And that will allow us to navigate. Now the nicest thing about that is I've changed the names of them, all right, for each one of those buttons, but we can still go ahead and change. And don't forget, while we're here, we're gonna clean this up while we're here. We're going to add our cursor effect, okay, and we're going to go under button, and we're going to choose this one right there, and we can resize it, main menu. And now let's take this button, our previous and our next image, and let's go ahead and change those. Previous image, we'll go to buttons. There's our text for that. Resize it. And then this one, select that and open it. Go to buttons and change it. Oh, and don't forget, while we're here, after we resize it, let's not forget to change the cursor. It's a very important thing to do. It adds a professional touch. This one here will change the cursor. And this one already has it changed. Now let's see how that works. Let's restart everything. Now we have about, okay, we have our contact, and we have our images. Now, next image, previous image. Looks good. Now we can go back out to the main menu. Let's try that again. Let's pause it, and now we can center up our image. Now if we need to make sure that they're on the same area, we'd use our shift key, multiple select items, modify alignment. This time we're going to choose this horizontal alignment right there. And that lines them up perfectly. And here's the thing, when we're in this, in our images framework, we want to, since these buttons are disabled, we want to make them disappear. We want to hide them when they're inactive. Well, that's a thing that we can do. It's an option from their main menu buttons. Let's select our main menu buttons. And here, while we change our cursor, let's also tell it to hide itself when it's inactive. Let's do that for each one of our main menu buttons. Change the cursor and hide when inactive. Change the cursor one more time here, and don't forget to hide it when it's inactive, and then it'll look like this. About, contact worked fine, but now watch when we go to images, watch what happens to our main menu buttons. They disappear, and they will not reappear until we now exit the framework, which is done by this button, exit, and it brings us back out and back up to our main level, which is called level 1. Notice how this is a level 2. Whenever you go into one of the map icons or another icon on the timeline, you're in another level, especially a map icon or a framework. So let's try that again. About, images, next, next. And then when we're done viewing our images, we hit our main menu button. It brings us back up to our main CD-ROM. And there we go. Now the only finishing touch we need to add to this is one very important thing. And let's put some music in here. So let's take our music, our sound icon, and bring that right here. And let's put that, that's our sound track. And I'm going to import my soundtrack. And there it is, already made. Import, and I need to do something very important, otherwise you'll never see the rest of the CD-ROM. It'll just play the song, and that is to go to my timing. And my timing is very important. Concurrency, wait until done, means it's going to wait until this song finishes playing before it continues down the flow line. So let's choose concurrent. And since I made a loop, I made a music loop in my Acid Music program, I'm going to play it not just a fixed number of times, which is 1. I'm just going to play it all the way and just let it loop and loop and loop until it's true, until I ever send it a signal, which I'm not going to do. So it'll just loop indefinitely. And now, here we go. We now have our interactive CD-ROM with our background soundtrack.